The movie opens with a chilling scene of a severely injured woman limping through a desolate area, pursued by a car. Exhausted, she collapses. A mysterious man steps out, offers her water, and hands her a gun with a single bullet before returning to his car. Desperate, she loads the gun, but before she can act, he runs her over, killing her instantly. Next, we meet Bobby, a young woman driving alone through the desert. She gets a call from her older sister, Anna, who begs her not to return to her toxic boyfriend. Anna offers to call their father for help, but Bobby refuses. She hates him. We learn Bobby was recently arrested for petty theft, but her father pulled some strings to get her out. Anna then asks why, if Bobby hates their dad so much, she ended up with a boyfriend just like him. Bobby is left speechless. Bobby stops at a gas station and hangs up on Anna. As she refuels, Sheriff Bill Stein approaches, mentioning he overheard her argument. She dismisses it as just her overbearing sister. He offers to buy her a soda to be friendly. Bobby politely declines, but he buys one anyway, making her uncomfortable. She refuses again, and he finally walks away. After paying for gas, Bobby continues driving, but Anna calls again, reminding her that her boyfriend, Rhett, hit her. Bobby brushes it off as an accident and starts speeding up. A siren blares behind her. It's Sheriff Bill Stein. He accuses her of speeding and throwing something that broke his headlight. Bobby denies it, but he doesn't believe her and issues a $1,000 fine for damaging police property. She pleads that she can't afford it, so he offers a deal, pay him $300 in cash, and he'll let her go. With little cash on hand, he orders her back to the gas station ATM. Meanwhile, Rhett keeps calling, so Bill Stein takes her phone to ensure she doesn't run. When Bobby reaches the gas station, the cashier informs her the ATM has been empty for a week. Her card is also declined when she tries to buy beer. Frustrated, she vents about her terrible day. The cashier warns her that Bill Stein does this often. The last girl who needed an ATM to pay the sheriff was never seen again. Terrified, Bobby makes a split-second decision. She runs. Elsewhere, Bill Stein answers a call from Rhett on Bobby's phone. He then scans the area with his rifle and spots Bobby's car in the distance. Without hesitation, he shoots out her taillights. Bobby keeps driving, unaware she's being hunted. Unfortunately, the sheriff catches up and forces her to pull over. He accuses her of fleeing, points out the broken taillight, and adds another fine. He then makes her stand by her car and searches her, humiliating her further. Bobby knows resisting will only make things worse. Bill Stein tells her there's a diner nearby where she can withdraw money. He confiscates her license and threatens to put her on the wanted list if she doesn't comply. With no choice, Bobby drives away, but suddenly sees Bill Stein aiming his gun at her. She swerves off-road, and her car sinks into the sand, leaving her stranded. Moments later, the sheriff drives off, forcing Bobby to walk under the scorching sun. Hours later, she reaches the diner, exhausted. Inside, she sees a man leaving cash on the table and quickly snatches it before rushing to the payphone. She calls Rhett for help, but he doesn't believe her. He accuses her of cheating with the sheriff and refuses to help. Enraged, Bobby hangs up. A waitress named Amy approaches to take her order. Bobby asks for coffee, but then her heart drops. Bill Stein is outside. She rushes to the restroom, but the window is locked with metal bars. With no other option, she steps out and is shocked to see her car towed outside the diner. Realizing Bill Stein is playing mind games, Bobby comes up with a plan. She dials 911 and reports a fake robbery at the gas station, forcing Bill Stein to leave. The moment he's gone, she checks her car and is stunned. He fixed her taillights. Meanwhile, inside, the man whose money she stole accuses Amy of theft. The owner fires her on the spot, leaving Amy devastated. Feeling guilty, Bobby calls Anna to explain her situation, but before she can, Bill Stein appears behind her. He hands back her phone and car keys, calmly telling her to stay safe in the desert before walking away like nothing happened. Bobby is left shaken. Before leaving, she sees Amy crying outside. Feeling responsible, she learns Amy has no car and lives 30 minutes away, so she offers her a ride. As they drive, Amy reveals she's struggled with drug addiction since childhood. Her father was also an addict, and her mother was abusive. Hearing this, Bobby opens up about her own past. Her father was abusive too, beating her and her mother. Amy asks if he ever hurt Anna, but Bobby says no. Anna would always talk to him, and he'd suddenly calm down. Amy pauses and suggests something horrifying. Maybe Anna was abused in a different way. The realization hits Bobby like a ton of bricks. Anna had been protecting her all along. Overwhelmed, she starts crying. Amy comforts her. Moments later, Bobby confesses she stole the money and apologizes. Amy, surprisingly calm, says she already knew and doesn't mind. She hated that job anyway. Feeling relieved, Bobby mentions the sheriff harassing her all day. To her shock, Amy recognizes the name and reveals Bill Stein is known for preying on young women. She says many girls have come to the diner, terrified, saying their car broke down, only for Bill Stein to show up. Then suddenly, a gunshot. Amy's lifeless body slumps forward, a bullet in her head. Bobby, frozen in horror, sees Bill Stein's car approaching in the distance. Panic sets in. Bobby starts her car and speeds away, sobbing and apologizing to Amy for causing her death. Behind her, the sheriff slams into her car multiple times and speaks through the loudspeaker, teasing that he thought she enjoyed playing these games. Luckily, Bobby spots a parked truck and pulls over, desperately pleading with the driver for help. The man immediately grabs his shotgun, ready to protect her. Just then, Bill Stein shows up from behind, ordering the driver to lower his weapon. And then, the sheriff shoots the truck driver dead. Horrified, Bobby jumps back into her car and speeds away to escape the psycho. Bill Stein drags the driver's lifeless body aside before getting back in his car to chase her. As night falls, Bobby's nerves are on edge when she suddenly notices headlights behind her. Panic floods her chest as she fears it's the sheriff again. She tightens her grip on the steering wheel, but the car speeds past her, bringing a wave of relief. Soon, she spots a garage sign and pulls over, desperate for shelter. Once inside, she takes out her phone to call for help, but with no signal, her dread deepens. She decides to wait out the night there. Not long after, she hears a car approaching. Hiding, she prepares to attack. When a figure emerges, she strikes immediately, only to realize it's just a mechanic named Ed. Bobby apologizes and frantically explains her situation. Ed assures her that he'll call his boss, who will know what to do. He then takes her to the office, where they drink hot chocolate. Bobby tends to the wounds she gave him and thanks him for his kindness. But soon, a car pulls up outside. Bobby asks for the restroom to clean up, and Ed directs her to a room. However, as soon as she steps inside, her stomach drops. This isn't a restroom. The place is filled with strange items, including multiple IDs of missing women. Her heart pounds as she realizes the horrifying truth. Then, Bill Stein suddenly appears. He calmly admits to killing all those girls, boasting that no one will ever catch him since he's the only cop around. He recounts how far each girl ran before meeting their end, then asks Bobby how far she'll go. Suddenly, Ed knocks Bobby unconscious, revealing that the two are brothers who hunt innocent women for their sick game. When Bobby wakes up, she finds herself tied to a chair. Ed slides his hand under her clothes, touching her inappropriately. She starts crying, prompting Bill Stein to rush in and beat his brother for his lack of control. Terrified, Bobby asks why they are doing this. Bill Stein explains that Ed was born with a mental disorder and was bullied his entire life, labeled as retarded. He blames their mother, claiming she was a sinful woman who ruined Ed. To him, all women are the same, deceitful, manipulative, and destructive. Bill Stein then pulls out a knife, revealing it was made from his mother's jawbone after he killed her. He believes all women deserve to suffer for their sins. Enraged, Bobby curses at him and spits in his face. But Bill Stein remains unnervingly calm, wiping it off without flinching. He taunts her, saying the next highway is just half a mile away. If she can make it there, she's free. Moments later, Ed grabs her mouth, and to her horror, Bill Stein slices off her tongue with the knife. Bobby blacks out from the pain. When she wakes up, she realizes her hands are no longer tied. But when she turns to the sink, she finds her severed tongue sitting inside. Fighting back nausea and panic, she sneaks out of the room and notices the brothers watching cartoons in another area. Seizing the moment, she escapes. The brothers notice and Bill Stein, amused, says he'll give her a 5-minute head start. Bobby stumbles through the dark, exhausted and shaking with fear. Suddenly, headlights appear behind her. It's Bill Stein. She tries to run, but her legs give out and she collapses. Bill Stein checks his car's meter and notes she traveled 800 yards before stopping. He writes it on her stolen ID, then approaches and hands her a bottle of water, just like he did with the others. Bobby slaps it away. Unbothered, Bill Stein hands her a gun with a single bullet, saying it's her last chance at freedom. Then, he returns to his car. Bobby loads the gun but unexpectedly points it at her own head. Bill Stein is annoyed, muttering that it wasn't supposed to go like this. But as he approaches to check on her, Bobby suddenly springs up and shoots him in the chest. She rushes to his car, trying to start it, but Bill Stein, wounded, catches up. She abandons the car and flees on foot, but he grabs her and slams her to the ground, choking her. Desperate, she grabs a nearby rock and smashes it against his head with all her strength. The sheriff collapses. Bobby staggers back to the car and drives away, but in the rearview mirror, she sees Bill Stein getting up. Furious that he took her tongue, she makes a U-turn, slams her foot on the gas, and drives straight at him. Bill Stein raises his gun and fires but misses. Bobby runs him over, crushing him to death. She sobs in relief. Finally, The nightmare is over. But she isn't done yet. Sometime later, she unexpectedly returns to the garage. She retrieves the sheriff's gun and carefully sneaks inside. She finds her severed tongue and places it in ice, hoping to preserve it. Then Ed appears, asking if she's okay. Without hesitation, Bobby stabs him in the throat, leaving his body behind as she walks away. In the final scene, Bobby drives toward the city lights. As the sun rises, she receives a call from Rhett. But without hesitation, she throws the phone out the window. She is done with her toxic past. The movie ends with Bobby driving toward a new beginning, free from the horror she endured. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.